Welcome back, El Rushball, on the cutting edge of societal evolution. You know, I have a piece here. What do I do? A professor at Rutgers. This piece is headlined. This is a professor at Rutgers. And I'm thinking of reading this thing word for word just to show you how impossible and what a waste of time it is to try to engage these people. They are not sane, folks. They're not sane. They are not rational. The people you're talking about, the people that the previous caller was talking about, who want somebody to stand up and basically tell them to go to hell and succeed. This woman's name is Brittany Cooper. She's an assistant professor of women's and gender studies at Rutgers. And the headline, I can't even read one of the words in the headline. Christian conservatives worship butthole God and white supremacist Jesus. Now, this woman's teaching your kids that you send them to Rutgers. What does it cost? A public school, $20,000 a year? I don't know. Women's and gender studies. Sonia Sotomayor, Rutgers. Michelle Obama. I don't know if she went to Rutgers or not, but there's one thing that all of these modern era grads at universities with advanced women's studies programs have, and that is rage. They arrived on campus enraged, and they had their anger fueled, and they came out of there further enraged, and they have taken that rage into the world with them, and it dominates practically every aspect of their lives, both personal and professional. And as I say, this thing might be worth reading top to bottom just to expose the real hatred that the left has for Christianity. And I'm sorry, but the clock, I have to stop again. Look, it's why I say the only way to deal with these people is to defeat them. And I'm talking about the ballot box. The people that you run into at the diner or wherever you go, they're never going to run for election. You can't beat them that way. But you can defeat the people that implement what they believe. Yeah, I know. The Rutgers professor story. I hyped it. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but you need to hear this. This is a professor, assistant professor, women's and gender studies at Rutgers. Her name is Brittany Cooper, and she says that the religious right worships a butthole God, although she doesn't say butt. A butthole God with nothing holy or loving or righteous or inclusive or liberatory theologically sound about them. Just days before Easter, she took to the internet to blast Christians for inventing a white supremacist Jesus. Published a column for online magazine Slate excoriating supporters of Indiana's Religious Freedom Restoration Act, which she dubbed the religious freedom garbage, and alleging that conservative Christians harbor antagonistic political views toward every single group of people who are not white, male, Christian, cisgender, straight, and middle class. We especially hate the non-cisgendered. She says anytime right-wing conservatives declare that they're trying to restore or reclaim something, we should all be very afraid. Cooper claims the Indiana law sanctions the exercise of Islamophobia and declares it a slippery slope that will lead to racially inflected religious discrimination. Nothing about the cultural and moral regime of the religious right in this country signals any kind of freedom, she wrote, adding that, quote, this kind of legislation is rooted in a politics that gives white people the authority to police and terrorize people of color, queer people, and poor women. Who is terrorizing whom here? She claims to be a Christian. She's a self-proclaimed Christian professor, says she often questions if she worships the same God of white religious conservatives who she describes as a white, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, gun-toting, Bible-quoting Jesus. I call this God the God of white supremacy and patriarchy. According to Brittany Cooper, if your politics are rooted in a contemporary anti-black, misogynist, homophobic conservatism, then we are not serving the same God. That God, she claims, is the aforementioned bodily orifice, with nothing holy or loving or righteous or inclusive or theologically sound about him. She concludes by encouraging others to declare death to the unholy trinity of white supremacist, capitalist, hetero-patriarchy, allegedly created by those on the religious right who have pimped Jesus' death to support the global spread of American empire via war. Again, she teaches women and gender studies and Africana studies at the publicly funded University of New Brunswick, New Jersey, Rutgers, and she describes herself as a next-generation black intellectual. And somebody's sending their kids to this woman to be taught. And she is just filled with rage and hatred that she assigns to other people.